Greetings, everyone, and welcome to We Are ACEDS, streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. My name is Mike Quartararo. I am the president of the Association of Certified E-Discovery Specialists. Today, we will be joined momentarily by John Rowe, who's the founder and CEO of Pinpoint Labs. We'll get into his background a little bit in a minute, but first, if you want to learn more about Pinpoint Labs and secure data collection techniques, of course, you can visit pinpointlabs.com. And if you didn't know, John is one of the early developers of e-discovery products that kind of set the stage for a lot of the tools we're using today. Also, Pinpoint is a affiliate partner, and we value our partners and the services they bring to ACEDS members. So we thought it'd be great to highlight what John and Pinpoint have been up to. And get John's views on some of the latest trends in the industry. So hopefully we'll have a good conversation. John, thanks for making time to join us today.
Thank you, Mike. It's always a pleasure, and I want to say thanks to the ACEDS organization as well. It's always good to work with you on various projects and for putting up with me on live streams like this.
Oh, that feeling's mutual, please. And just full disclosure, I've known John probably 15 or so years. I think more, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, John's been in the industry for over 30 years. For those who don't know, John, please fill them in a little bit on some of your early journey and how you found yourself working in what we call the e-discovery industry.
E-discovery. Yeah, and like you said, I've been at it now for over 30 years, and I did work for a couple law firms and service providers, but what really got me on more on the tech side was building a little scanning app that became known as Legal Access, where in '95 I was working for a service bureau and we needed scanning software. So I built something, had a programming background, and that just never intended on making a software company out of it. People got wind of it. They liked it, the way it worked. And, we started selling it. And then it wasn't probably 3 or 4 years later that all of a sudden, instead of getting paper, or in addition to paper, we're now getting files burned in on CDs and stuff like that. And so, still connected to the service bureau, the software side of the company would build tools to help the service bureaus, right? So we built what became known as zPrint, which, for those who've been at it for a while still know that name, but it would print to paper and then eventually would import stuff directly into summation and concordance and be able to bypass the paper route. So that evolved into law pre-discovery, which a lot of people know was acquired by LexisNexis a year or two after it was released, and the other products. And then at Pinpoint Labs, now that I started this company 19 years ago, and our focus was forensic services, right? So we do collections, investigations, expert witness work. And apparently I have a disease because myself and our co-founder, Jamie, both with development backgrounds, if we got frustrated, we would just build it. So that's how Pinpoint got started, was in services and then eventually software. But sorry, that was kind of a long rant, but
No.
I had 30 years to cover. So it was like trying to hit the highlights, scanning e-discovery collections.
Listen,
And
it's
never
very,
ending.
very reminiscent for me because I'm old enough to remember zPrint and those early tools, and obviously we're talking back in the days when we'd get electronic files, and the first thing we would do is print them,
open it and print it, and then
yeah.
it's like,
Hey, John,
yeah.
can you print out these PSTs for me, right? And I was like,
Yeah.
why are we doing this way? And then obviously, the tools evolved. It was a fun time, the mid to late '90s, to be involved in e-discovery and then watch those tools evolve. Obviously, I was a big user of Law Pre-Discovery when it was a Lexis product. I think it sits with Cloud9 now. I could be wrong about that, but but tell me, what was it like? Like, it must have been exciting for you too to see a problem and design something that solved that problem. What was it like trying to build tools to solve legal professional problems at the time?
And I think that in some ways, oh, it's like telling your kids I had to walk 10 miles to, snow
up,
uphill.
up a hill through the snow.
You're like going, I mean, if you actually think about what we had to do to a computer so that you could actually hook a scanner in and that it would be fast enough to store the images and then having something big enough to store the images. And so when you think about, how we had to customize PCs and storage devices to just build a decent scanning app, and then electronic discovery, the same thing. And but then I think, today we struggle with the same challenges. We're trying to figure out how to download the stuff fast enough or upload it fast enough or find the bandwidth to process something. So I think the challenges were the same but different. We had a lot of hardware limitations and things that we had to overcome to make scanning applications and e-discovery processing engines and storage devices and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, all right, let's pivot to Pinpoint Labs. Tell us the story of the company. I know you said 19 years. What is that Pinpoint does? How do you do it? And what problems do your products solve?
Uh, well, thank you. Like I mentioned, we started off, I really want to get away from software after I said we really want to focus on services. And I really had a passion for getting to the front of the line and doing, collections and investigations. And so that's what we dove into. And like I said, Jamie, the co-founder, joined me about a month after I started the company. And that's what we did is we went out, got our certifications and started traveling all over doing, performing the services. But what we found really quick was, we needed things for better metadata extraction and analysis. We needed better collection tools. At
Mm.
that time, people were just imaging everything on a hard drive, or they were drag and dropping things to USB flash drive, which is not defensible at all, which, people eventually figured out. So we just started building those tools that we needed and we thought would be better for especially like e-discovery collections. We didn't need to image a hard drive every time, we needed to collect something. So as we began to build things, like Safe Copy, Harvester, SharePoint Collector, they took off, because other people had the same problems and, needed to have the same kind of tools we were building for ourselves.
And I remember I was an early or big user of products like Safe Copy, and for those who don't know, it was the easiest thing in the world to do. I have some forensic training, but the ability to take a USB drive, plug it into a computer, a little dashboard pops up. You set your parameters, tell it what to collect. It hashes the files. It creates audit logs. It does everything automated right there on the flash drive for you. And assuming it was big enough to collect the data you wanted, it was all right there. And it was just, to me, revolutionary because it was changing the way I used to have to call a vendor and say, hey, can you send a forensics examiner
Yeah, I had
to
to go
solve,
out.
you know,
Mm.
and it was a game changer for me. And I did that on a regular basis. That was like something that my team did back in my law firm days. But there's a number of other products and some newer products. So can you walk us through the different products at Pinpoint?
Sure. Like I said in the beginning, we were really focused on-prem tools, something like Save Copy, Harvester, SharePoint Collector. I mean, one of the things we actually did do within a year of starting the company, it was before its time, is we built a cloud-based collection tool. We called it PG Collector. And, you could you could create a job, send out a link to custodians. They could download an agent, they could run the collection. And we thought this would be really cool. And this is the way things were going to go. Well, apparently we were before our time because after showing it to, a couple dozen corporations, government agencies, service, they all thought it was looked really cool. And but at that time they're like, we can't get people to buy off. We can't get the stakeholders to buy out on this. So we went back to the on-prem type applications, but what's changed, what's newer now is, after addressing local computers and networks like the things we've talked about, Safe Copy Harvester, we started getting into the cloud sources many years ago, like Google Drive, OneDrive, Box, Dropbox.
Mm.
and did that with the Harvester app platform actually. And then came out with things like Pinpoint Cloud, which also gets to the cloud, as the name creatively suggests. But one of our biggest accomplishments, and probably the biggest project I've ever worked on in my 30 years, is Cross Copy Enterprise, which we originally came out with about a year and a half ago. And it's designed to essentially, from the cloud, we kind of went back to that idea we had about 18 years ago, which was go online, create a job, send out the custodian requests, and then be able to collect from local computers, network, and all those cloud sources without installing any software, right? So OneDrive, Google Drive, Box, Dropbox. So those are our newer platforms that we're trying to continue that same theme, which is be the best at defensibility, build the chain of custody, preserve file timestamps and metadata, just like in the safe copy days. And then we had people pretty much begging us to add mobile device collections. And that's been a big undertaking. And we released it earlier this year. It's called Cross Copy Mobile. And so we took a new kind of approach to that and been able to develop something on the mobile device collection side that it hadn't been addressed at that time and provides people some benefits in the privacy when you talk about privacy issues and being able to do targeted message collections and still making it defensible. So that's my commercial on our latest things. Is it's been a significant undertaking, and my wife reminds me, I think you've worked harder in the last 3 years than I've ever seen you in 30. She's like, I thought you're supposed to slow down as you get older. And I said, I guess it's just it's a problem. It's a problem. So
It's your passion, man. And they say if you like what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. So good for you.
yeah.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. Aside from our friendship and the longevity of our tenure in the space, let's say, we share something else in common. We've both published books.
Books.
And you recently published Forging Code and Trust, 3 Decades of Legal Tech Innovation, earlier this year, I think about 2 months ago. You can find the book wherever you purchase books, online, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever. And first of all, congratulations on that accomplishment. And John, this book seems really personal to you. The website describes it as part memoir, part field guide, and all heart. What is the book about? What inspired you to write this? And why should folks read it?
Oh no, I appreciate that. And like I said, the saying, I want to be like Mike. So I figured since you wrote a book that eventually to be like my buddy Mike. A little slower. I mean, you did it years ago, but so, but no, it's available on Amazon. I really, I think as I was coming up on the 30 years, it's maybe some nostalgia, just going. And then somebody asked me last year, they're like, how many products have you basically brought to market? And when I say that, I always mean I couldn't do it without great teams. That might sound like a cliche, but it's genuinely at the heart of everything is being surrounded by great people. But they asked me, how many apps? And when I sat down and actually wrote them all, I typed them all up, it was over 30. And I was like,
Hmm.
well, that's kind of a fun little ring. It's like 30 years and over 30 apps that I've had the privilege of bringing to the e-discovery and forensic space. So I was like, so the book really came down to I just kind of wanted to distill some things, not only the technology and a place where people could kind of relive if you've been in it for a while, or the next generation could see how the technology evolved and some of the challenges. But it was also to tell some fun war stories. It's like if any of us have been on the front lines for any length of time, just what seemed to be ridiculous stories, right, of how we made it through or how we got the job done. And so I wanted it to really be a mix of the technology that I'm passionate about, but also building teams, building cultures, and the importance of a team, and how they respond to customers to get their trust and the credibility. And so it really hit on a lot of different levels for me. But then I also tried to keep it short to where somebody within a flight or two could could power through it. And so it's really not that long. It's about 110, 120 pages, depending on what version you get. But so I was just hoping to kind of mix a lot of that together in the basically under the same in the same cover. So
And let me just ask you, John, forging code and trust. What is that? What was your intention with that title?
so the original title was Build What Matters, which I thought, well, that's still not that exciting. And there were already 3 books on Amazon that were named that. So, but actually, my other passion when I'm not dealing with bits and bytes is I do blacksmithing and knife making, and I have a forge and a shop. And so to get away from again the bits and bytes, I like to go pound on steel and do metal work. And so I was like, how do I make this unique? And I was like, wait a second, let me just kind of merge the two things. And so the foraging came from my, my hobby and my other passion, which is just, getting in the shop and making things.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I appreciate the use of the word trust, because trust is like that's what it's kind of foundational in terms of um, legal technology and some of the processes that we use. Like, you have to trust the process, you have to trust the software, you have to trust your service provider, your software
Right.
provider. There's this huge need in our industry to get things done, and if you can't trust the things you're doing, it's a problem. All right, speaking of
Yeah.
trust, I wanted to pivot because part of what you talk about in the book too is um, leadership in the space, and you've managed your business for a long time. Your staff seems to stick around, which suggests to me that there's strong leadership in place. Do you have any thoughts you can share with our listeners on leadership in general, what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah. And thanks for bringing up, yeah. And that, like I said, that's part of the book title because those are 2 core things that, passionate about. And is just gaining the trust not of your employees and hoping they stick around for a while, but it's also your customers. And what I've found that are some of the key things that have to do with employees is it's really a combination of respect, support, and you want them to be a part of the vision. You want them to feel a part of that vision. When you paint the picture of where we're going to be and this next product we're going to build and what we want to do and accomplish, it's great when the team, they buy into that and they genuinely want to be a part of it. But I also think that comes from, I mean, my personal philosophy is be on the front lines with them. Since I am a developer, I have people smarter than me doing it now, but I can be in the trenches and ask stupid questions, I call them, and try to help them get through a problem. Or on the testing side, I mean, I was up helping test a new version of the mobile app last night till probably 11 o'clock. So I still help with testing. I still, do a lot of design work, sales and marketing. I'm still on demos and still following up with clients. So I think that helps to build some trust and respect is like, okay, he's willing to put in the work and go the extra mile and do all these things, and they
Yeah, I
follow
had the
suit,
same I had the
so
same philosophy as a leader back in my law firm days. Like, it was rare for me to ask someone on the team to do something that I myself couldn't or
you
wouldn't
don't
do.
want to do
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
Yeah.
that's kind of like the sign of a good leader. For all you fledgling leaders out there. Um, all right, let's shift a little something a little bit more theoretical. I always like to ask this sort of open-ended question. What's the one thing we should be talking about in e-discovery, but no one is talking about it?
Yeah, there's obviously several, but I think one of the things that's been on my mind for a while now is dealing with collaborative environments. If you're familiar with things like Microsoft Loop, it's more and more attention is, bringing into that, or people talk about modern attachments, and there's even other programs like Notion and Miro, which are essentially collaborative whiteboards. And we don't have a great way with dealing with that. We don't have a great way with collecting all the stuff that we need, and we don't have great review platforms to handle it. And something I've seen a lot over the last 30 years is we always had to add another piece to our review platform to get to the next set of discovery, whether it was adding an image viewer to a database so we could see documents, scan documents, or native file viewers, or email threading, or short message formats, and chatting, chats and stuff. So I think one of the things we have to continue to talk more about and collaborate on, I know some people are already doing this, is we have to build those next things, not only from a collection standpoint, but from what do our leading review platforms need so we can see, what happened at that certain time. Somebody has an attachment that comes in, or a link in an email, and it's a loop file. At what point did they see it? Because it could have changed 25 times from the time it came in to the time they actually looked at it. And
Yeah.
so I think there's those challenges related to what happened when is way harder now because of these live files and these live documents that people are constantly involved in. And so I think that is going to be one of the things that, we're constantly challenged and have to make better process and tools.
One of the things I love about our industry is, number one, it's never boring, but there's always a new challenge around the corner. And thank goodness for folks like yourself, and of course many others who are tackling those problems and coming up with solutions. You've made certainly my life easier over the years, so I appreciate that. We're almost out of time, John, but one more question. Anything new, interesting, any new product releases, any big events coming up for you and Pinpoint?
Yeah, one of the biggest things we're adding, like we said, we got the mobile device collection. That'll be a constant evolution. But at the same time we were doing mobile, we were also doing Teams and making Teams and Slack connectors. And so that was all going to be a part of our seamless cross-copy enterprise platform, was adding connectors so that people could just log into Teams, log into Slack, pick their channels, do searches, and get all that buttoned up and defensible at the end of the day. So we'll continue to expand the cross-copy enterprise platform. Teams and Slack should be coming down the pike pretty soon. And then we do have a mobile defensibility webinar as far as upcoming events at the end of September. Our website's getting updated. Go under the Pinpoint Labs and events area, and we've got a great panel we're putting together to address the most current mobile device collection issues that we're running into.
Awesome. That sounds great. John, thank you so much for making time. For our listeners today, the book is Forging Code and Trust, 3 Decades of Legal Tech Innovation. Look it up on Amazon and check out Pinpoint Labs at pinpointlabs.com. John, thank you for making time. If listeners, you are interested in our short form video interviews like this one, you can find We Are ACEDS live streams in your LinkedIn, Facebook feeds, or check out the ACEDS YouTube channel where you can watch previous interviews. As always, thanks for joining us today. And thank you, John, for your time.
Thank you,
and appreciate it. And everyone, please be kind to one another.
All right. Thank you, everybody. It was a pleasure.